What's going on, guys? It is the Bad Wolf, and today we're going to be talking about the W-4. Now, y'all should know what that is, especially if you work for somebody else. For. Um, but do you guys know the magic of it? I mean, we talk about it, doing things like, I don't know, the revocation of election. And we've already told you where the real power of the revocation of election is. Now, though the W8BN is good, 15103 and the various other forms, blah, 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 1040NR, 8233, 673, etc. But what relationship is really going on here? Now, the short version is that anytime you see the word income or employer, employee, um, those are all terms for general taxpayers, 14th Amendment, U.S. citizens and legal persons, entities, etc., that are subject to that, meaning you're in their jurisdiction. So, really, what we should be doing is operating as 1099 employees where we get to keep our taxes general. A lot of people are afraid to go to their employer and say, hey, I want to redo my structure with you. I want to operate here as a 1099. A lot of them, they don't really care. You're still going to be there. They're just going to give you more of your check, and you're not going to get certain privileges and benefits, which we now know are for 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. But you're going to get and if you know how to deal with your taxes from that point in time, you're tax exempt with your W-8BN, your other documents, et cetera, et cetera. So have we been using the W-4 wrong? Well, it depends on your perspective. W-4 really is for a withholding citizen. But because we have remedies and rights, we can use the W-4 to, as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen who's taxable, or we can utilize by law a right to be classified. So basically, we're saying, you know, I want the privileges and benefits of a U.S. citizen, but I really want to be classified as tax exempt. And that's what we're doing. So, is there a law against that? No, there is no law. Could that change in the future? Could. But you're basically telling them, hey, look, I want to be regarded like I'm one of you, but I'm really not. So I want all of the benefits I can get from you guys. I'll work, I'll do all the things I'm entitled, take some of my money, put it towards this, this, and this, and I want those benefits. You have that as a right. But they can't classify you 100% as being a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen unless you are telling them, regard me 100% as one. The benefits and privileges are there for anybody who's going to do the work. So as long as you're doing the work, you can do it. The only people who can't really say that they're not 14th Amendment U.S. public citizens are your postal workers, your attorneys, judges, police officers, postal, all that. Anybody who services the public, they are supposed to be taxed because they're legally considered foreign to the United States of America. We, on the other hand, in our normal private capacities, and some of those people, if they utilize their private capacity, but they can't do that when they're at work, so they cannot, but they can do it outside of that or with a different job. When in job, they have to be that 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. We, on the other hand, we're not state or federal employees whatsoever. So we have the right to say, hey, you know what? For legal purposes, I want you to kind of consider me like I'm a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. I want those benefits, but for legal tax reasons, I want to be regarded as tax exempt. So let's take a look at the W-4. Let's get the magic out. Okay. Clean off my peepers. And remember, all this is education and entertainment from your favorite belligerent, non-combatant treaty with the United States, private judge, Lord of Lovitica, private citizen, national, non-resident, pretty fly for a white guy, Mr. Badwolf. Wait, because I can identify as anything I want. I identify as a older white guy with great credit and a nice car. Take that, America. All right, so let's see what we got here. Share the screen. And let me make sure I got my stuff ready. Get it ready, Freddie. There we go. All right, share screen. The green screen, if you know what I mean. My good man, Mean Gene. So this is the newest or latest one. It's the 2026 W4. Department of the Treasury with their tax collecting third party agency, not a bureau, Internal Revenue Service. Hence the word service. Keywords, guys. Pay attention to the words. Complete your W-4 so that your employer can withhold the correct federal income. But you're not a federal employee. Why are you paying federal income tax? Are you a federal employee? No, but you have the ability to be regarded as one. Why are you guys not reading your documents? What law says a private citizen who's not a federal income tax employee has to pay federal income tax? Put the law up. Put the law up. This is for federal employees, federal agencies, federal persons. Your withholding is subject to review by the IRS because your employer is the withholding agent. The government trusts them to take whatever you give them. And unless they can prove that you're doing something criminal, they are to take it and let your declaration be between you and the IRS. The Treasury knows who you are. The IRS hopes you don't know who you are. So we're going to fill this out two different ways. Y'all do what y'all want to do. I'm not saying this is fact. I'm just saying this is education entertainment purposes. Let's get it going. Okay. Of course, we all know this isn't my real number, so don't try anything stupid. Depending on which one of these you guys are, do whatever you got to do. Okay. Now, complete steps. Okay, should we go through it like painstakingly or damn near? Okay, it says do only one of the following. Use the estimator W4 app for the most accurate withholding for this step, 3 to 4. B, use the multiple job worksheet on page 3 and enter the results on step 4. C, which is down here, If there are only two job totals, you may check this box. Do not do the same for the W-4 for the other job. This option is generally more accurate than step 2B. If pay at the lower paying job is more than half of the pay at the higher end job, otherwise step B, 2B is more accurate. Complete steps 3 through 4B on Form W-4 for only one of these jobs. Leave those steps blank for other jobs. Your withholding will be most accurate if you complete. Okay, now understand, from a legal perspective, they're really talking about a federal employee. Okay, this is not what they're going to teach you in any other stuff. From a certain legal perspective, if you know that you're not a federal employee, really shouldn't even be using this form. Why am I agreeing to use this form? But once again, it's because this was for federal employees paying federal tax, state employees, state tax. If you are not one of those, you shouldn't be using any of those forms. But if you want the certain privileges and benefits, once again, then what you're doing is you're making an election to possibly pay, but you want the benefits. There's no law against this. Real federal employees have to fill this out legitimately. However, if you are a federal employee and you want to know how you can be tax exempt, you need to do a consultation with me and go to blacksite32.com or review information on jamesclovett.com. Brought to you by The Bad Wolf on YouTube and Badwolfunincorporate on YouTube. Powered by Badwolf Unrestricted on YouTube. Now, back to your regularly scheduled program. All right. So, step 3, claim dependent and other credits. Okay. So, what the people who have done it the old school way would do is here they're talking about multiply your total income. Well, once again, income that's a term for federal employees. It will be $200,000 or less, 400,000 or less if married, filing jointly. Once again, marriage is a state product. Now, I can't tell you what to do, but it then says multiply the number of other dependents, people who are dependent on you. Add the amounts from steps 3A, 3B, plus the other credits, enter it here. Now, could you do this and then still yet come down here and put 0? You could, but you're claiming the full benefits. You're saying that if I've got kids, I want more. I want this benefit here. So to me, that is a trap because generally benefits imply that you are the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen and that you are taxable. Now, I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. So I'm just going to tell you this is the general way that people did it in the old school. They put zeros across the board. They wanted no money taken out. They didn't want to be regarded as they didn't want any of these state and federal benefits that they could say, well, hey, you took the benefit. As a national, you shouldn't be taking the benefit. Well, you took the benefit, and they're going to look at that as taxable. So they will probably push back. But let's say you've got, you do have kids and dependents and whatever else. Okay. So really, let's say like this should be like, two or two or no, not 20, whatever else. Multiply the number of children under age 10 by two. Okay, so then you'd be like, let's see, 4,000. Okay. Multiply the number of dependents by 500. Okay, so you got two other ones. Okay, so I'll put another 1,000 here. Add the amounts from steps 3A, 3B, plus the amount of other credits entered here. Okay, so we'll just say 5,000. Okay, so you're basically telling them you want to use the benefit that they're willing to give you to get 5,000. So understand that even if you do come down here and put your zero, okay, they could come after you for this 5,000. Okay, they could. I'm not saying they will or they won't. I'm just saying if you use their stuff, it's their stuff. So I'm not telling you to use it or not. Okay. Now down here it says other income from jobs. Okay, other income. Once again, that's a taxable word. And it says here, not, or excuse me, not from jobs. So if you want tax withheld for other income you expect this year that won't have withholding, I don't know why you would want to do that. Enter in the amount here. This may include interest, dividends, retirement income. Okay, put it here. B, deductions. Use the deductions worksheet on 4 to determine the amount of deductions you may claim, which will reduce your withholding. So if you want to reduce your withholding, okay, if you skip this line, your withholding will be based on the standard deduction. Enter the result here. I want 0 deduction. Most people usually put 1 or 2 or whatever else. And then, of course, C, extra withholding. Enter any additional tax you want withheld each pay period. Now, I'm showing you this is the middle ground way. Hold on, let me get this right. Educationally speaking, to be tax exempt. But if they want, compliance can say, well, if you don't want any taxes taken out, that's one thing. But you're also asking for this credit here because of what you got going on. Depending how they want to look at this, this could be taxable. So this would be we'll say we'll call this the number one way of being tax exempt but getting the credit. We didn't do it this way in the old days. This always puts you in like the gray area, okay? Because nobody can give you a complete answer. So the way most of the people I know who have done it or do it is this. I don't want none of your credits. I want none of your stuff because I'm a national. And though that is a nice 4,000, okay, and depending on what you got going on, right? But that's the government cheese. They want the rats to go for the cheese. Take the bait. I don't want none of your stuff. A national or state citizen, remember, you're getting all your money. I mean, minus, your normal little things that, you can't really get rid of too easily. But you're getting all of your money. This is the better way. Don't fall. I'm just educationally speaking. Don't fall for the cheese. I don't want none of your multipliers for kids. I don't want none of your dependent multipliers. Nope, 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 nope. I don't want nothing extra taken out. Nothing. Now, what most people did in the old days here, they wrote in the word exempt. Why? Because though you are doing this job, which is not a federal job, you're making an election to pay as if you were a federal employee. You want the benefit, but you're also a national. This is how you would fill out, for informational purposes, your W-4. You drop down here, sign, date. That's good. That's it. Right? That's how a lot of people do it. Since then, this sneaky little line here got brought in. This wasn't here originally in the old days. So let's take a look at it. Can you do this right here and be fine? Yes. But let's see what this says here now. Why did they add this at one point? Exempt from withholding. Oh, why would they even have this here if, generally spoken, the W-4 form is for your employer, who's the withholding agent, to withhold the correct federal income tax from whose pay? Your pay. Why would they even remotely have an ability for you to claim exempt if you couldn't claim exempt? Now, why? Because they know federal employees are not exempt. They're not. The law states they have to pay taxes, but you are not a federal employee unless you got a federal job. Are you a public servant? Three-letter agency? Any of that? No? No? Okay. And once again, if you talk to me in consultation, you tell me what's going on, I can show you how to legally still yet fill out this form, but then keep your taxes because it's legal within the merit of the law as long as you pre-plan your tax event and handle it properly. Been doing this for over 10 years now. This part of it, all of it together, more than that, obviously. You guys watch my videos. So it says here, exempt from withholding. I claim exemption from withholding for 2026, and I certify that I meet both of the conditions for exemption for 2026. See exemption from withholding on page 2. I understand I will need to submit a new form W-4 for 2027. Guess what? You do that and this and all of this, and you're exempt. And you got nothing, educationally speaking, to worry about. If you take the cheese, they could still come after you for that little bit that you're getting back here. They have to give a remedy. This is the remedy. Some federal employees have a normal job and then they also work for or they work for the federal or the state, and then they have another one. So that means that some of their income or their compensation is not taxable. These are the remedies. This is what they're not going to tell you or teach you because what? Your CPA or your accountant? They don't want you to do this. This sucks for them. IRS, Treasury, your employer, none of them, the ones who do know about this aren't going to tell you. And in general, no, not even saying general, by fact, there's no law that says they have to teach you how to do this because that would be giving you legal or financial advice, and they're not trained in it. So I'm not giving you legal or financial advice. This is education, information, entertainment purposes only. Now, what I would suggest you do is to read down through here for the form, purpose of the form and specific instructions. This is also good for people who have been denied their W-8B in. This is the old school way of doing it. So, look, for self-employment, okay, once again, this is their military term. Generally, you will owe both income and self-employment taxes on any self-employment income, because the key word here is income, you receive separate from your wages. Also, that's their word. You will receive as an employee. Well, wait a minute. If I'm self-employed, I'm not an employee. Hmm. If you want to pay these, wait, what? If you want to pay these taxes through withholding from your wages, if you want to pay. That sounds like an election. What's the opposite of an election? A revocation of election. 2 jobs, 3 jobs, deduction, qualified passenger vehicle loan interest. Keyword here, qualified passenger vehicle. Y'all really got to start looking up these terms. Look here, medical and dental expenses. Have y'all even came down to read any of this? I mean, for those people who want to pay taxes and get the benefits, home mortgage interest. D- y'all know y'all were supposed to use this as deductions? Have any of y'all been using this as deductions? Look here, even state and local taxes. You were supposed to be putting that here. What are you paying for your state and local taxes? Your medical expenses, your home mortgage interest. Some of y'all, even if you don't want to be exempt, y'all need to go back and redo your W-4. Have you given anything to charities, Goodwill, donated it? Other itemized deductions. This is a huge hole in the fence right here. Cash gifts to charities. I'm not even going to get into all the ways you can what you can do with all this. Y'all been just trying to take the easy street and letting them P Diddy pimp y'all. I know, because that's what I used to do too. till I started actually reading these things, challenging them. I mean, even like, wait, oh, hold on, what was that? Non-resident alien. If you're non-resident alien, see Notice 1392, Supplemental Form W4 instructions for non-resident aliens before completing this form. Why? Because them paying is an election. It's optional unless they've done a taxable event and they didn't pre-plan that. So now they're stuck with taxes. But remember, a U.S. national, per the IRS, is equivalent to a non-resident alien. Do your own research. You get it? So, educationally speaking, those are the three ways to fill that form out. I would urge you to do the second and the third if you're going to do something educationally speaking. I'm not telling you what to do. You're grown, or you should be, or you shouldn't be watching my information. This is for the private citizen. I, and everybody here at my agency, this is pretty much just me. We are not responsible in how you use this for any financial gains or any financial losses, any whatever's you may encounter. We are absolved and waived of any. All our videos, all of our materials, all of our files, things said are all considered hearsay and education and entertainment purposes only. With that being said, do your own research. I would say out of the three options, hypothetically, education speaking, I would use the second or the third, and probably the third. Zeros, exempt, and check the box. And then per their instructions, it says you will need to do one next year for 2027. Keep a copy of your records. Always make at least two. One to your employer, you keep one, or give one to your employer, you keep two. One somewhere safe, and one in another or whatever, just in case something happens to it, because I'm a stickler on keeping your information. I would add to it your W-8BN and other forms that you should use and have them prepared in case you are so challenged. Depending on what you're going through, I am once again not a legal or financial expert or anything of that nature, just a private consultant. However, if you have within my due bounds of information and reach, either scenarios with that or you're already working on, we can do a private consultation. I can give you some thought and information, theoretical things on how you can proceed to deal with your IRS obligations. But that's up to you. As always, seek a qualified, licensed person in the related fields or subjects for proper education. That's it, guys. That's how you use a W-4 to be tax exempt. Talk to you guys later. Feel free to hit that bell, like, and subscribe. Remember, once again, this is for the private citizen, the national, not the U.S. citizen. If you are a taxable person, please pay your taxes. Thank you in kind. This information should not be used in any kind of way illegally to skirt the law or your tax obligation. If you are legitimate and you're looking for a legitimate way to reduce, minimize, or eliminate it, once again, contact me, do a consult through blacksite32.com, and we can go over theoretical ways that have already been done and proven such privately to help you with your debt, your alleged IRS debt, and the other things of that nature. That being said, that's it, guys. Thank you for being entertained. I'll talk to you guys later.